probably just frustrated because he had a hell of a game, said the wrong thing, bunch of people pushed back on him, and now he's feeling like the bad guy. So that all is secondary, man. The primary is this kid's a stud. He played at G-Tech with the Detroit running back. What's Gibbs? Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, what a combo that G-Tech had rolling there. And then of course Gibbs transfers to Bama. They both wind up in the NFL. Gibbs in the first round. This kid goes undrafted. Now they're on the two best teams in the conference. And you know what? The thing about I love the decision tonight to not play McCaffrey. Why? Because the Super Bowl is February the 9th. You know what I mean? It's September 9th. It's September the 9th. You got all of September, you got October, you got November, you got December, you got all of January. It's a freaking marathon. They got to the Super Bowl last year and McCaffrey wasn't 100%. I don't think they want to see that happen again. And it's inexcusable if it happens again because you got a starting caliber back sitting right there in JP Mason. And I think Taylor's decent as well. And I think Garendo could probably tote the rock a little bit. So, I mean, and of course, Schrader was here in camp and you had Elijah Mitchell who got hurt. And I even think the guy they got on the practice squad from Tampa, I think he's a decent player. What's the practice squad back again? I'm forgetting his name. Keyshawn Vaughn ain't bad. So, I mean, it's amazing. Teams like Dallas can't find a single back. The Niners have them, stack them, pack them, and rack them, and they got them everywhere.
Yeah, I think the whole thing about that with the Friday thing is they're going to try and the media is going to try and make a big deal out of it, like with the NFL injury report. You knew McCaffrey wasn't playing, and you listened.
Fines
but you know what? All they got to do is say we listed him as questionable. And we told JP he's going to get the start, and we had intention of maybe CMC.
Yeah, I don't really think there's any games played here.
I don't think so either. I don't think
there's any games. They're just covering themselves. I didn't notice that Damon has entered the room. Damon, good to see you. Now we got Damon,
guys.
Rye, and Danny. Damon, give us your thoughts on the matchup. Who the Niners put up 30 on a defense that's supposed to be one of the best in pro football.
If that is as well as you can play with players having rust on them without your reigning offensive player of the year, could be a really good season. Game ball to Dominic Pooney. I mean, I know that everyone's talking about Jordan Mason, and rightfully so. Dominic Pooney is a game-changing level talent, and they had over 100 rushing yards in between the tackles. Well, guess where Dominic Pooney plays, in between the tackles. So I think that there's causation, there's correlation there for sure. Really impressive opening night, very workmanlike performance out of the 49ers. As good as they were, I didn't even think that they played great. They just went out and played their own game. They executed their game plan, and there you go. Now, what's happening with Jordan Mason? I was just doing my own show. I came in. Did he say that he's known that Christian McCaffrey's not been playing all week or something like that and just say too much in the press conference? What just happened?
Well, okay. So I think he told Lisa Salters that he found out Friday night, and then Mayoko asked Shanahan about it. And he's like, no, I think he might've been mistaken. Maybe Bobby T might've told him Friday night that there was a chance he would play. So anyway, they're just trying to, get their story straight. And I'm sure he probably got yelled at a little bit because he stepped into the media room and he looked, the kid just had he just had the greatest day of his NFL career, and he should have been joyous at the press conference. And instead he seemed like a guy who just got his ass chewed. And that's probably because he did.
Wow. That's too bad. I would tell him, kid, don't worry about it, because you keep running like that, you're going to be in the league as long as you want to. That was an impressive pile-moving performance out of him. And, I think everyone was concerned when they heard, McCaffrey wasn't going, and it's severe enough to where he may not be going in Minnesota next week. And I just said, man, that's not good. And the 49ers are definitely a little evasive with the severity of this McCaffrey injury. John Lynch was just talking about how good he was looking all week long on KNBR. What's he looking at? He's obviously not looking at the guy practicing.
No. I was at the same practices, and I agree with Lynch. McCaffrey has looked spectacular, but I think it's just a matter of he's probably having some pain, and I think they're just trying to be extra careful.
Right. They don't need
but
him week one. They need him in the Super Bowl. So it's like, I understand maybe they knew that there was a 99% chance that CMC wasn't going to play on Sunday. Maybe that's what they knew on Friday, and maybe that's why Jordan Mason believed that he was going to start. But I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how the rules work. I know that you have to declare your ins and outs on Saturday if you're playing on Monday, right?
So, well, do you have to declare a game time decision? I mean, I know Schefter does those.
If it's a game time decision, it seems like that would just be the loophole for any kind of, I don't know. So,
I mean, I'll tell you what, me and all my buddies in my like little betting group chat that are all Niners fans, we were all betting on Mason to score a touchdown, McCaffrey to go under, because we were like, there's a fantastic chance that McCaffrey plays 20 snaps in this game. So if like a bunch of idiots like us can figure that out, like it was pretty apparent.
Mark D'Ambra says, media sucks at times. Don't beat a dead horse. Leave it alone. He's learned the hard way. Leave it alone. I mean, I don't think anybody, believe me, nobody's going to be camped out at his locker saying, hey, man, what the heck? You know what I mean?
No, I'm sure there'll be some hit pieces, though. People will be talking, not on Mason, but probably on Kyle, being like, oh, look at Kyle Shanahan trying to ruin JP Mason's big moment. I'm already seeing tweets like that. So.
I'm seeing it in the chat, too. Yeah. I'm seeing, there's a super chat that says that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, and here it is. Here it is. The Black Hercules. Damn, Kyle destroying the best day of Mason's life.
Are people overreacting? Did something happen that I didn't see that was that dramatic?
Yes. So Mason showed up at the presser, and when Mayoko asked him a question about when he was told when he was playing, he's like, he looked like he'd been yelled at.
He was hanging his head and he was pissed.
He hung his head and he just didn't want to talk. And then he's like, I don't want to answer that question. And and then he's like, that's why I don't like talking to the media. And it wasn't a great moment, but it wasn't like it blew up. It wasn't like anybody attacked him or really forced him to talk or anything. It wasn't like that. It just seemed like he, was feeling bad. Wasn't in the mood to talk to the media, and then was like, "Hey, all right, now come talk to the media."
Well, that is too bad if that all did happen that way.
He's a young guy.
I will tell you this, Jordan Mason, if you're watching, and you probably are. I mean, who isn't? If you are watching this, Jordan,
he's one of 2,000 others. Go ahead.
Nothing in the NFL matters but what you put on tape. That's it. That's why training camp interceptions don't matter, and to have an entire career built around covering those is ridiculous. That's why having anger at all these holdouts and Brandon Aiyuk and all this stuff. Look, all of that is over now. What did you do on game day? Jordan Mason, you just delivered for this team on game day in a way very few backups have ever come in and filled the bill of understudy. So sleep well tonight, Jordan Mason, and I'm going to sleep better knowing that if they do go to Minnesota without Christian McCaffrey able to play, there should be nothing different about their offense in that game than there was in this game. Mason is a starting caliber NFL level talent. And the fact that he is, RB2 on this team is a real blessing for this team. So I hope all bad feelings and, any media member of the betting gambling community wanting all their information and playing gotcha if it came out the funny way, like screw all of them. Like, kid, you're going to be a multimillionaire. You keep running like that in this league. Don't worry about it.
Well, that's the thing that I think makes this whole situation worse is that he's never really gotten a shot, and he's always proved himself when he's gotten the shot. And today he really got the shot to prove himself completely, and he did, and that should be the focus. But it's like the focus is on that.
Larry, you were in the presser. What do you think of the question that was asked to Kyle? I don't know who asked it. Maybe it was you. I can't remember. But what do you think?
What was the question?
Something along the lines of, does the performance tonight from JP Mason make you think, of giving more time for Mason when McCaffrey comes back? And
he was like, no.
And he was like, yeah, he was basically like, well, no, we're going to play CMC or something like this. Like,
yeah. I mean, obviously CMC's their number one guy. He's their number two guy, but I think Damon said it best. They got 2 number 1 guys. That's what they really have. They got 2 number 1 guys.
Yeah, like Detroit.
Yeah.
Now.
And they'll play, and believe me, they're going to play Mason a lot. They're going to play Mason a lot.
So good tonight. I thought he should have been getting the McCaffrey treatment. I'm like, where's Patrick Taylor? Get him in there. Get Mason out of this game. He's too valuable now. Let's see Garendo get a carry. Let's see Debo, or give it to Juszczyk if you have to. I don't care. Give it to Cowing on an end around or a jet sweep. Like, get Mason out of this game, who now needs to get the McCaffrey treatment. And
I'll tell you the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, but I think it was a big part of this game. They were going against this Jets defense that has Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams is probably, there's Chris Jones, there's Jeffrey Simmons, there's a couple other guys, but I mean, Quinnen Williams is all pro. He's a first team all pro guy. He's a big time guy. I didn't hear his name announced hardly at all. Was he even out there?
Dominic Pooney ate him up.
Yeah, he was out there. Yeah.
I mean, Banks and Brendel and Pooney did a really nice job. And I'll say this, going against this level of a defense with Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald off the edges and those 2 guys, Kinlaw and Quinnen inside, the Niners really had very few negative plays in this game. There were not a lot of negative plays. I mean, it wasn't like, oh man, Purdy made a bunch of mistakes or this guy made a bunch of mistakes. This game was devoid of a lot of big time. I thought the 49ers played a clean game penalty wise, but I thought they also played a pretty clean game mistake wise. Well, maybe the film will show different, but I don't know. It didn't seem like there wasn't a lot of negative plays.
Larry, it felt like all of those flags came out on the drive, where Aiyuk had the dropped touchdown and then Debo ends up getting it in, and there was the holding on Debo. There was just like a lot of flags on that one drive, and the Niners overcame those flags and still got the job done there. So it was a good night for the running game. There was no doubt about it. And, if you're talking about game balls around here.
Yeah, who would you give yours to?
Fred Warner. I mean, it's Pooney, it's Mason, and it's Fred Warner. Fred Warner with that peanut punch where if that football had been a jaw, he would have knocked the football out, man. I mean, he punched that thing so on the sweet spot to get that ball to come out. He was fantastic. And I thought that Lenore did a really good job. Garrett Wilson's good enough to make you look bad on a few plays. How do you recover? I thought Lenore recovered from every catch that he gave up with a really good play that followed it on an ensuing pass. So it was just a good night all around.
I thought another key thing tonight was, last year the struggle was who's playing opposite Bosa. Tonight, Leonard Floyd showed up with a sack, and then he's the one, I believe, that caused the interception because he caused Rodgers to step up and throw it quick. And then that was Lenore. The DBs were playing good. They got the hand in there, deflected it. Flanagan Foles picked it off. But Floyd he only made the one mistake where he jumped off sides for the TD that Rodgers threw to Lazard. But I think that's a big difference because, and I noticed, Damon, you put the same thing out I did. They put a chokehold around Nick Bosa twice tonight.
It's like, there are some calls that absolutely get lost in the wash of a football game, and I understand why an official didn't see it. When the guy is literally backwards to the line of scrimmage and being dragged backwards by his neck, it feels like that should maybe jump out, and you might want to throw a flag at that. But no, the flag on that play was illegal formation. So maybe you can say, well, the ball was never snapped. The hold, the hold never happened because there was a legal formation. So it was a dead ball whistle. But whatever. I mean, how do you not throw a flag at that live in the moment to just pick it up if you got to? It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't want to make anyone yawn here, but how about the fact the NFL is called like 25 illegal formation? I mean, did you guys hear that on the broadcast? Like that's like, why are they doing that? Like what? It seems like every year the officials pick one rule to go off on. And this is the year that they decided to do that.
It must have been the point of emphasis that everyone got an email about on Saturday night. And so Sunday morning, everyone was thinking about it and it carried over maybe to tonight. What about the whole drag tackle? I thought that was going to be a nightmare. I haven't seen it. The drop tackle I didn't see it called once in week one in any game that I watched.
And Juwan Jennings got hip dropped and he got injured.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? He'll probably get fined, honestly. The other guy will get fined.
Here is Quinnen Williams in the locker room after the game. He was asked about Jordan Mason. Here's what he said. He was amazing, man. We watched him on film running hard downhill like all San Francisco running backs they've had in the past. They hit the hole hard and they run like they're supposed to in the outside zone. They're hitting the point immediately and hard in the inside zone. They're hitting the point immediately hard. It was an amazing job by them and an amazing job by him. So there you go. Quinnen Williams got a newfound respect there for Jordan Mason. And it's good to hear. I'll say this. I asked Warner about Sorensen. I thought Sorensen had a really solid game tonight. I thought the Niners coverage in their front, I thought it was tied together. I didn't think they made a lot of mistakes. I thought the guys hustled to the football. There were guys hustling on the backside of the plays. I like what I saw from Sorensen. How much of that was Sorensen? How much of it is it Staley? How much of it is the talent? I don't know.
How much of that was Malik Collins, who was beefy in the middle, wasn't he? I thought Malik
was
Collins
very good.
was tough to miss tonight. So
yeah, he looked good. Yeah. Big difference there. Big difference with Collins. You know, another thing we didn't even talk about, but my corny line of the night, I'm always good for one. Jake Moody's in a good moody, right? You got to, I mean, what a night. 6 for 6, 53 and 51, and hit on all, well, two extra points, but 20 points he scored tonight.
Dude, he had a huge night. If you played him in fantasy, you're loving him.
Dinks count too. He dinked one in. That was good.
He's got a big leg.
That should be an extra point, honestly. That should be like a third point or a fourth point. I mean,
if you can get the ball in with the dink, you get an extra half point or something.
Something like that.
Hit the upright.
A double dink, maybe.
That's a good start, though, man. 6 for 6 with 250 plus yarders. You got to, you want to make those. I mean, those were big field goals at the time, though, because it wasn't like the game was out of reach until maybe the last one, but it was still within 2 points. What do you guys think of the play at 4th and 1 down on the 4-yard line? They were up 26 to 13.
Right. Kyle turned a 2-possession game into a 2-possession game.
Right.
Seriously, that was the only thing. I mean, the only complaint I had in the entire night. And I was sitting next to John Lund, and we were both sitting there going, why would you do this? You're at 4th and 1. If you get the first down, you put the whole thing away. Instead, you get the touchdown. You get a score there. A non-field goal score, and the game's over. And instead, you go for the field goal for no reason at all. I mean, I didn't see 2 touchdowns still beats you. That to me was baffling.
I just think he erred on the side of conservative. Trent Williams had just jogged off the field to go get his IV. I bet you that went into the math.
I thought so too. Yeah.
I think that had something to do with it. And yeah, I mean, even if you
meaning what? Meaning what, Damon? You think that you think Kyle may have thought that Trent couldn't come back in, and that this was.
Well, just hey, Trent's not going to be available for 4th and 1. We'll just take the points. We'll just kick it right here, and turn it. You can say the whole you turned a 2-possession game into a 2-possession game. Yeah, but you then added on the necessity to have a 2-point conversion, and like it. I understand why Kyle did it, but I also think had they gone for it and even failed to convert the 4th down, you're still leaving the Jets with like 94 yards to look at, and that's good too. And what was odd about that, it was the only time the Jets, I think, returned a kick was the following kickoff where Moody didn't kick it out of the back of the field goal. Maybe he kicked it or something.
Back of the end zone,
Kicked it out of the back of the end zone. The only time that the Jets could have really burned you with a return is the one time they actually had an opportunity to return it. So that was a little weird, but otherwise, like, they scored on 8 consecutive drives. There's not a lot of play calling to complain about tonight. They scored on 8 consecutive drives. Wisnowski punted once all night long. One punt. That's a good night.
What do you guys think of the? Oh, go ahead, Larry. Oh,
I was just gonna say, I thought Purdy's downfield accuracy in this game was really good. It was like when he was throwing the ball down the field, it was like handoffs. I mean, his accuracy down the field. Now, Rodgers is the guy known for his accuracy down the field, but I thought Purdy, if you go look at the he didn't attempt a lot of 20-plus yard passes tonight, but on the balls that he did throw 20-plus yards down the field, they were on the money, man. It may not have had tons on them, but they were on them.
The pass of the night was dropped, but he put that thing right where, I mean, you couldn't have thrown that ball to Aiyuk in the end zone any better. I mean, how he put it in there with the man all over him, and Aiyuk dives and it's right in the chest. Oh, that was a beautiful throw. But I wanted to ask you guys this because I'm noticing this whole weekend. Do you think this new kickoff rule, they're just going to just start saying, screw it, just put them at the 30 instead of risking a touchdown? It's happening.
We've already talked about this. I mean, this story is old. I mean, I asked Shanahan this 3 weeks ago. I'm like, dude, why the heck would anybody ever kick off? Why would you ever not kick the ball through the back of the end zone? Last year, you get the ball at the 25. This year, if you do that, you get the ball at the 30. You're going to give away 5 yards, or you're going to risk somebody busting one for 100, a touchdown. I mean,
they're going to have to change that to like 35 or something.
I think so. They're going to change it next year.
I'd kick it through the back of the end zone every single time. The only time I wouldn't is if I was behind and I needed some kind of a turnover, and then maybe I wouldn't. But other than that, I'd kick it through the back of the end zone every single time. And then they're going to have to change this rule. I mean, why even have a rule like this if you're going to have the ability to kick it through the back of the end zone? Can't every kicker make that kick?
I think we're underestimating how foolish some of these coaches are. The guys like, Shanahan, Harbaugh, they're just going to kick it out of the back of the end zone. But there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to kick it.
Well, you've seen the squib kicks, right? Where they like kind of laser it in. Maybe that's the strategy. I don't know. But
we saw over the weekend, if you don't kick it in the landing zone, it comes out to the 40, right?
Right.
So you got to hit it. First thing you got to do is you got to put it in that landing zone.
Yeah, otherwise you got to get it. You either got to get it through So it seems like they're going to have to change it if they're going to keep this rule. They're going to have to make it hurt the team. It's going to have to go out to at least the 35.
Right.
So on the Aiyuk front, I haven't heard your guys' opinions. I'm sure you've all talked about it a bunch, but so what are your thoughts with the latest stuff coming out about the Glazer report, and what are your thoughts on them possibly, or would you have preferred if they traded him to the Steelers? Are you happy that they signed him?
Yeah, no, I it's funny, Ryan. I'm glad you brought this up because, Kyle was asked about this today, and he was like, well, is how it was reported, is that accurate? And he's like, well, pretty much. I just wanted to go up there and make sure he hadn't already been traded.
Oh man.
But I mean, here's the thing. This is the part where I'm skeptical. I'm really skeptical. And call me, a skeptic if you want. But I just don't believe that the 49ers were going to voluntarily make their team worse inside their Super Bowl window. I think it sounds good. I mean, we told them, we're going to trade him if he doesn't, sign our deal. Okay, they knew they had the influence over him. They knew they had the ultimate trump card on it. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just if you're telling me that John Lynch was going to trade him for 2025 draft capital, then I would tell you that would have made the 49ers worse in the present. And for all that John and Kyle have done to build up this team, they were going to make themselves discernibly worse in the present. I don't know if I buy it. I know it's what they've said and this and that, but
if Aiyuk wasn't going to play, if Aiyuk was holding out and he wasn't going to play, then the best thing they could do is get something in return for him, right? This year, but
they had no urgency to do that because they could have easily they could have made him play in the 5th-year option. They also could have. They didn't want to make him play in the 5th-year option. They also could have. They could have tagged him for 2 more years, so that there was no urgency. He wasn't leaving. He wasn't like he was leaving. It's just it's a bizarre story. I mean, so it's like, wait a second. You're going to tell us that this was true, then we're going to say that you were about to trade one of your best players for nothing but draft capital in 2025. I don't know. I mean, it was reported that they offered a 3rd to Denver for Sutton, and when Denver said no, they said, let's keep Aiyuk. But I don't know. I don't know what to believe. As far as how do I feel about it, I'm glad that he's here because they're better with him than without him. Their chances of winning the Super Bowl, I think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl with him. I don't think they really had, that great of a chance without him, to be honest. I don't believe that.
I'm putting Brandon Aiyuk in front of the same jugs machine that got Jordan Mason ready for this season and just firing balls 90 miles an hour at his face for the entire week. He just in a couple of weeks, he'll be up to game speed, I'm sure. I think Brandon Aiyuk had 2 or 3 drops all of last season. He had 2 drops this evening. So it was the easy to see, predictable, disappointing first game back from the holdout that cost you the entire preseason, disappointing performance from him. And I think he, do the 49ers need that story out there to look, better or smarter about this entire offseason? I don't know if they did or didn't, or planted the story, or where Glazer got it. I don't really care. Like, to me, sports media loves noise more than it loves like actual what just happened in sports. And I guess
that's facts. That's so facts.
Yeah, the questioning of Brandon, or excuse me, what Jordan Mason just went through. When did you know when you were going to start? And if you said this,
I hate that shit too.
Questionable. Let's play gotcha on the timeline to see.
I hate that shit.
A lie. And I guess there's a point in time for a level of, all right, inquisitive journalism that peels back layers of the onion. But we also just had a football game, the first one that they played since they've lost the Super Bowl. Like, can we concentrate on what just happened for the field for a few hours before we go to let's find the offseason or in-game, post-game controversy to ruin this evening?
Let's take the guy who just rumbled for 150 and find the most miserable scab we could pick, and then just pick at it. And then when he's doesn't want to play along, suddenly he's the bad guy. He looks bad. Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, the story was the guy rumbled for 150. The story is that was the best game of his NFL career. The story is that it's been a long time coming. The story is that many of us saw what we saw tonight. Many of us saw that well in advance.
Right.
Those are all angles on this thing. What time somebody freaking told him he was going to play or not is just so freaking secondary. It's nauseating.
Here's the deal.
You're right. It's a joyless, it's the joyless gotcha crap.
Well, here's the thing.
I
won't fault Lisa Salters for the question, because I think she was trying to get an answer that was, I found out 30 minutes before the game, blah, 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 blah. Like, just talk, kind of interesting story. And then it came out that he's like, Friday. And that's when it went from being like, this is a cool story, to being like, what really happened?
There's inconsistencies in this narrative.
Like, what's going on here? Like, funny business kind of.
I guess if I were Jordan Mason's agent, what I would like to do is go to the podium and say, hey, my guy was told that he was going to play on Friday. That doesn't change the questionable diagnosis on Christian McCaffrey. He was still in question. Maybe he would recover. Maybe he wouldn't. But either way, my guy was going to play or get the start, and they were going to use him sparingly. Like, they didn't change or tinker with the McCaffrey diagnosis or official injury designation.
Right.
So I don't know where
Mason starting doesn't mean that CMC's injured.
Right.
It just means that he's starting.
Exactly. This isn't a pitcher. Like, as soon as you remove him from the game, you can't put him back in. Like, I don't understand where the gotcha is here. And, the only people that should be frustrated would be McCaffrey fantasy owners who feel like, geez, I could have used this information a little bit earlier. And if you are Mr. Bet US or Mr. DraftKing or Mr. whatever, and if you're the gambling house that wants all this information, they should be upset, but this shouldn't upset a single fan, a single media member, a single football player. I mean, it is a manufactured moment of nonsense.
Well, gambling companies. The only thing that makes it not manufactured is the kid had a real negative, appearance on the podium. That wasn't manufactured. That was real. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is it's just like, come on, man. He just had the greatest game of his career. Can we just ask him about it? Can we show a little joy about it? And it's unbelievable. Let's hit a couple of these. Terrence Sullivan, new member. Thank you, Terrence. The Global Peace Tribe, new member. Global, glad to have you with us.
Love the Global Peace Tribe.
Matthew Waring in the house says JP clearly got chewed out for eyeing. He was told Monday he was starting. They didn't even take advantage of his hands in this game. DeBig 25 says Shanahan play calling questionable as always. O-line issues still haven't been addressed. I don't know about the O-line issues. What did you guys think of Kyle's play calling? Do you have an issue with Kyle's play
they
calling
punted
tonight?
once. They punted once.
He scored on 8 straight possessions against a defense that's one of the best 4 or 5 in the league. I mean, I don't know.
there's way too many people in this chat who only play Madden on rookie mode. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, the question still, it's the same question negative. Always with this team, and that's, I mean, the pocket was collapsing a little bit at the beginning of the game before they built the lead, and if they were down a touchdown, I could see things getting a little bit hairy if they were just in a drop back pass game. They weren't running the ball. That's usually what happens. That's usually when like the interior gets exploited and the Chris Jones or the Quinnen Williams of the world start to wreak havoc, and that's when the Niners struggle. But, this is a classic Niners win game plan. They got up, they kept running the ball, it's perfect.
No, and that just adds to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason was the reason they won this game. I think they would have won it regardless, but the run game is what was doing it for the 49ers. They were able to run 6 yards a carry pretty much at will. That's what did it. And I think Quinnen Williams, they lined him out on the edge a couple times, and he, wreaked havoc on McKivitz. So the offensive line for the 49ers wasn't perfect, but Pooney definitely showed out, and some of those guys in the interior really helped on the run.
I mean, this is a really good Jets defense, and it's a defense that's led by their line. Quinnen was a top 5 pick, and Kinlaw was a first-round pick, and Jermaine Johnson was a first-round pick, and Will McDonald was a first-round pick. I mean, do you see the trend there? I mean, there's a lot of talent on that line. The Black Hercules says, damn, Kyle destroying the best day of Mason's life. Okay, we already had that one. We got this one from Maitland, who says, F the media for asking questions like that. Okay, I don't know about that. We got this one from Frank Tom Ocean. He says, sound like folks missed it. After the game, the Monday Night Football crew asked when he knew. He said Friday. Then Kyle said he never told him that. No, we got it. It's just a matter of should it be that big of a deal?
It's a matter of he said, and I don't care.
He could have literally heard her say, when did you find out that you might be started? It was right after the game.
He also was like, I think Friday. He said, I think Friday, right? Yeah. So,
the only thing about it is I mean, this is the one thing I would agree with him. The media is not your friend. And, having people trying to pin you down on some timeline when you don't know what their motivation is kind of, I'm sure, probably nauseating. And, Kyle dealt with this the other day on the Ricky Pearsall thing. What time did you know? How many people
when were you going to cancel
at your party?
Yeah.
All this second guessing dog crap. I don't know.
When were you going to leave the hospital? Oh God.
Go ahead, David. What were you saying?
Great answer is if you said, Lisa, turns out I'm not playing tonight. I'm not playing tonight, Lisa. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not playing. Well, you just had 150 yards. How'd you do that? I don't know, but I'm not playing tonight.
It's an amazing thing. If food just Simeon 13 says enjoying a Niner win with a juice box.
There you go. Get those juice boxes open.
Calba Camiga says great week, 1 win. DBs made the Jets wide receivers make those catches. Fred looks elite still. The middle of the D line looks strong against a revamped Jets O line. Yep.
By the way, that Javarius Ward wanted one more stab back at that Tyrod Taylor floater. I thought he was going to come down with one at the very end.
You should have.
Yeah.
Seriously, you should have. Matthew Waring says, why the Flanagan fouls start and so much Odom? Why so much Odom? Well, Odom has played really well from scrimmage at safety.
And Fowles played well tonight.
Fowles played well. Fowles had a pick. Didn't he have a pick?
Yep.
Yeah.
Lenore got the tip up of the Wilson bobble, and he pulled it out of the air.
Jason says Mason ran with that Frank Gore dog in him. Frank Gore got honored at halftime. That was good to see. We get this one from Madden Faithful. JP Mason post-game interview gave me the chills. Well, he wasn't happy. He wasn't
one
happy.
Reaction.
Kid Tricksta said Mason got chewed out by Kyle after saying he knew he would start. He dismissed Mayoko's question. What do you guys think? I think we've covered it.
I think I got to see this. Everyone's so affected. I still haven't seen it. I got to see this though.
Yeah,
it's on my Twitter feed. You can check it out.
Yeah, it's not overly dramatic. Ricky Williams says, Pooney, what a stud. But get McKivitz out of here. Both 64 and 68 need to be replaced next year. It's impressive they're doing so good with what they've got.
They were running to the right a lot.
Yeah.
They did run a lot to the right.
Look, McKivitz had a false start, and I think he got called for a holding in this game. I don't think he had a
might have
bad
been
game.
3 penalties, Damon. I think there might have been 2 false starts.
The holding was kind of whack. I was watching the Manning cast, Belichick, and those guys were like,
Belichick's my new favorite media. Belichick's my new favorite media guy, by the way. He's awesome.
The Debo downfield holding was the worst holding call.
Oh, it was horrible.
That was just in the flow of football. Every single downfield block looks like that. Why he got called for that, I don't know.
Yeah, Troy Aikman was like, I guess by the rule of the law, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, the officiating tonight, when you look at some of the things, how about when they had to have the quick review, when they said his foot was out of bounds, the guy, and they brought it back and they didn't make it on 4th and 1. You remember that?
Yeah, the Garrett Wilson. That probably should have been a catch.
But his foot was his one foot came down and his second foot went on the line. And the field judge or the line judge, he's sitting there watching right at it. They got the replay of the guy looking straight at his foot. And I'm like, how do you miss that? You're like Danny, 10 feet away looking at it.
It's funny you say that because people on Twitter were arguing, like saying that since technically his heel came down first, he wasn't, and they got it wrong. So I'm not really sure.
Oh, maybe I didn't watch it close enough. I didn't look at the heel. It looked.
I don't know. There was some debate online. People saying like, "Oh, the heel went down first, so he was actually in." They got the call wrong. So
wait, so one heel is worth 2 feet?
No, like
I think there was a debate like, well, why does a toe count but not a heel? That was the kind of the debate. And I don't know. That gets lost. But the Niners got away with a few things. I mean, there was one play where Mason just got a full-blown head start. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. He totally false started.
Yeah.
They just let the play happen.
Yeah.
Oh, I think was that in the first half?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember that. Tobin Ernst said Niners have CMC and baby Derrick Henry. Yay. And we've got this one from Scott Donald. He says, I'm as proud of Mason as Larry is of his son. Both showing us old guys that the future is bright.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks, man.
I don't know about that. I don't know about the bright future, but
Mason
all right.
did look good.
Kev, when did you know that you were going to be on this show? Did I tell you Friday? Did I text you?
Kevin, the correct
proof. Is there any proof that
anybody
ever told you were on this show?
I've never been on the show before in my life.
Not even on it right now, Lisa Salters. What are you talking about?
We got this one from Monty. Aiyuk, mighty quiet post game at his locker after a flout off season, goes and drops layup touchdown in his bread basket. Go hit the jugs machine, BA. Yeah, BA definitely looks. He looks.
He looked like a guy who missed the entire preseason. That's what he looked like.
He looks a little rusty.
He did look like that.
Yeah, that's what he looked like the other day at practice too. He looked kind of rusty.
Did you hear in the post game they were interviewing Kittle and they talked about Debo and how he looked and Kittle said, "Yeah, we love this Debo, the shape he's in. Remember how he looks now compared to 2 years ago? He came into camp after that holdout. He was
Debo's
30 pounds heavier.
Yeah, he's in much better shape right now. Man,
he looks
I
good.
wonder how many games like tonight Debo can withstand, to be honest. I almost wanted to ask him that, but that seemed argumentative. But I
yeah, it's probably a good call.
That's the problem.
He doesn't. I don't know. I don't think he can go like this every week.
No, and if they roll with Jordan Mason, it means they're going to go with more Debo running back stuff. It seems like.
Well, the thing to do with when CMC comes back, let's just have a 50-50 or 60-40 CMC load. Let's not do this run Mason into the ground all night and then run. I mean, if they do the same thing, if CMC misses 4 games and they pound Mason like this for the next 4 games, he's going to not last. You can't play 17 games at that intensity.
I think Kyle's fallen in love with the idea of being able to pass to your running back so easily out of the backfield. So with CMC gone, Jordan Mason has the jugs machine and he's getting better at receiving. But when Debo was back there, he was catching the ball. Like they were throwing him the ball from the backfield, and I think that's what they're going to use him for. If that's the way they go with Mason.
We've got this one from Dominic, who says JP Mason's story smells of Grant asking some stupid questions to piss off Kyle and a Nick Wright trashing Purdy in 49ers session. What a game by JP.
Did you see Nick Wright's he had some weird ass angle where because his whole thing is that obviously Purdy's a system QB and that he's surrounded by the Avengers. But then he had some weird I think he was going after Jordan Mason or something. Wait, I got to look this up. It was a terrible point.
Yeah, that guy's masterclass.
Masterclass in what? Troll?
Of 49ers Brock Purdy hating.
Thomas Messina says, I like this 5-man front, but I would replace Damon. I'd replace Damon with Pooney against the Vikings next week.
What? I'd replace me with Pooney too. Pooney
guys. Oh, he's saying us as
he likes our 5-man front, but he wants Pooney to replace Damon next week against the Vikings.
I put Danny.
That's pretty good.
I put Danny at tackle.
If this were our offensive line, who would play tackle? Who would play center? And who would play guard?
You'd play center. You'd play center.
I'd say Danny's a guard. Danny's a guard.
You're the center, man.
Probably Kevin, Damon, or probably. Well, I know Rye's definitely got to be.
Well, no, Damon's not in it. It's Pooney for Damon. So.
Well, then we definitely play Pooney at tackle, and we'll play Rye at tackle as well because of the length. We got Alex Barbado, just saying, hey, $1.99. I don't need it. There you go.
Okay, wait, I got the tweet. This doesn't even. I don't get what he's getting at. Okay, he tweeted, the Brock Purdy corollary teaches us that pretty soon folks are going to be explaining how we were all simply Neanderthals if we don't acknowledge that Jordan Mason is a top 5 back in football.
Who's this from?
Nick Wright. What is that angle?
Top 5 back? Where's he getting that?
He's saying the Brock Purdy corollary teaches us that pretty soon folks are going to be explaining how we are all simply Neanderthals if we don't acknowledge that Jordan Mason is a top 5 back. So he's basically saying like Jordan Mason is in the same situation that Brock Purdy's in. That Jordan Mason's not that good. You could literally put anybody in this system and they're going to be amazing. But then, so I don't understand that.
That's
so
not true. That is not true.
Saying
anybody like Trey Sermon?
Is his point that McCaffrey's a system running back? That's what I don't understand. That's a terrible.
He's basically saying that Shanahan's offense makes any running back look good and any quarterback look good. And so if people want to say Purdy's great, he's saying that they're going to be saying that Mason's great and that neither of them are great. But he's in reality, I think he's wrong. I think they're both great. And the Niners have had all kinds of different backs that haven't been good. When you run out of backs, you run out of backs. I mean, they got JP Mason ran well tonight. Why? Because he's a good running back. That's why. He's a good running back. He's been a good running back all summer too.
Good running back with a good offensive line blocking for him. I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it works. There's no running back who's ever been good without an offensive line, except for Barry Sanders.
Remember that run in the first half where it just all of a sudden there was just it was like you could have parked a semi in there as the amount of space that Mason had on one of those runs in the second, that like one of those first runs, just absolute just monster space. So I mean the Niners offensive line, I think you got to give them a little credit. Garendo season next week. It says, what does it say? Back to
doghouse for JP.
Back to Garendo's not putting JP in the doghouse. JP's got way more moves, way more feel. Garendo, as I said, is big and strong and fast, but he doesn't have any of those moves. He doesn't have any of that feel. He's bigger. I mean, he's not bigger, but he's faster.
Well, we talked about this week, Larry. It's about rhythm too for running backs. We take the concept of rhythm and we only apply it to a passing game when it's really important to a running game as well. And Mason's got a rhythm. Garendo can't have it. He hasn't played yet, and we all know that, like one of the best things about Christian McCaffrey is how he feels a game around him and how he hits a hole and how he finds slivers of daylight everywhere. He just feels the game around him and is always making the right move. And it took Mason a little while to get going, but when he did, the Jets couldn't do anything to stop him. They really couldn't. It was an impressive night for him. And I'm sorry that it got muted at all with, some gotcha, you knew what, when, how, knew why, or whatever the media did to him. But I hope he sleeps the good sleep.
Have you ever been asked questions and the person asking is got some kind of agenda? It always aggravates you. You know what I mean? So how would you like to always be talking to people that have an agenda? I mean, that's kind of like pro athletes. I'm not saying feel sorry for them or anything, but I mean, there's a lot of these media people have an agenda, and it's not like these are innocent questions. These are not innocent questions. It's not like, hey man, I was just wondering, when did you know you were going to start? Because it's always well, then that means that this, and then that means that Kyle, and it's always a gotcha. It may not be a gotcha on you, but it's a gotcha on somebody. And it's like sometimes guys see that coming from a mile away and are like, man, I don't want to play along, man. I'm tired.
It also could have been just a simple question on her part, like, hey, when did you find out? Like, did you just find out like an hour before? And
no, I'm sure, Danny, I'm sure it was, but it's the follow-up with the media crew in the room with when did you know? And then the next question is, well, did he guarantee that you would play? Did he say that you would play some snap? And then all of a sudden it's like, now you're trying to, Kyle tells you one story, the running back tells you another story. What are you going to get Bobby T in here and ask him for a third story? You're going to go ask Chris Forster for a fourth story. And then what, you're going to compare and contrast those stories and find out who's lying and find out where there's inconsistency. Do you see how the whole thing gets,
I mean, fantasy football is one thing, but you could kind of brush that off. The thing is, the only people that really got hurt by this whole situation are just the books, which are all lining the pockets of every media member in existence now, and every player and everybody's getting paid by them. But it's like, if anybody bet on McCaffrey over under, it doesn't matter. The bet would have been refunded. It would have been, you're fine. But it's just for everyone that got these sweet Jordan Mason bets in, it's going to piss off all the sports books. And the sports books are notoriously, if you're winning, that even though they're incredibly greedy,
I just,
here's the thing too.
What do you mean everybody's associated with them? What are you talking about?
Here's the thing. If Kyle,
what do you mean? I mean, what are you saying that we're all associated? You're making it seem like we're all associated with gamblers, and I mean, come on. Why do you make these claims?
If Kyle right now were told every time you lie to the media, we're dinging you $10,000, he would write a check for $180,000 and just pay the year up front. You know what I mean? Like he would be happy to. Kyle loves not talking to the media. He doesn't want to share information. He doesn't want to share his game plan or who's playing. And the whole concept of like, when were you told as the backup running back that you were going to be playing? Well, he's the backup running back, so conceptually he could be playing in every game. I mean, most teams have more than one running back touch a football in a football game. I don't understand where I don't know. Again, I haven't seen it yet. I'll find it when the show's over and I'll look for it. And I'm sure I'll be unimpressed, but like the only thing.
Hey, I want a brand new take by tomorrow morning. I want a brand new take.
Jordan Mason isn't feeling good about the night he just had. That's a shame if that's real.
That is true. Dominic Hong says JP could start for half the teams in the league. They need to extend him before his value skyrockets. Anyone who has watched this team knows how good he is. I would definitely agree with that last line. I'm old Greg says, boys, the line looked great. And then just a Mason. Scott Donald drops this one. He says 2022 times Purdy last pick, Mason undrafted pick. Meanwhile, peeps say Lynch sucks. Yeah. The people who want to critique Lynch, your undrafted rookie running back and your Mr. Irrelevant quarterback.
Hey, by the way,
those late round picks are good, but those early round picks.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Stat tonight,
Sure.
they said that Jordan Mason had the second most yards of any on Monday Night Football of any undrafted running back.
I wonder who's first.
Oh, they mentioned it. They
Sam
mentioned the
Wilson
name.
says, Krug, we hit big tonight on Better. We hit big tonight. Good to hear.
Most any other, who was that undrafted running back who set what record? It's usually Terrell Davis, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it wasn't Davis. It was, gosh, I can't remember.
Timmy Smith or something.
Oh, Arian Foster. Aaron G. Martinez got it. Arian Foster.
There you go. Hell of a back. Green Glass Full says, be suspect of people like Wright that say folks. Folks. I'm Old Greg says, the corollary says Nick Wright is a D to the bag. Let's not rip Nick Wright too much. He is Damon's buddy. Brian says, so according to Nick Wright, should Shanahan be in the Hall of Fame right now since no one could fail under him?
That's the
might
thing.
say yes
you
to
know,
that.
so by the way, that is a follow-up question that I would have for some of the doubters of this team. Like, so which is it? Because Niner fans will tell you, I root for the team with the most amount of talent in football. But man, my fucking GM sucks. What?
What?
So what is it? What is it? I mean, he has absolutely hit on some high profile or missed on some high profile draft picks, but he's done enough to keep on fielding the team that keeps on being credited for having the most amount of talent. And for Kyle Shanahan, you know, the guy is either at all times being served up as good but not good enough, or just can't get it done when it matters most. But on the other hand, he's a total Svengali, and if he touches you, you're going to the Hall of Fame. So, like,
Right.
which is it? Which is it? Like, please pick a lane and stick in it.
Or if you go to defend, if you go to try to say that Brock Purdy's pretty decent, you're like, but dude, he plays for Shanahan. But you just said Shanahan stunk.
Right, Shanahan sucks, I thought.
Yeah,
and doesn't know how to draft. Did he draft Brock Purdy? The guy who doesn't know how to drafted Brock Purdy, so he must know a little something about it. I mean, it's just.
How about Fred Warner?
Nice little circular
Let me
argument.
tell you what I'm not doing this year. I am not going to be asking Kyle Shanahan to reapply for the job in between games, in between plays, in between halves. There are people who want like this. They're constant. The first play that didn't go very well. One negative play was that Debo razzle dazzle that neither razzled nor dazzled that got eaten up alive. And, I saw someone saying, well, that just proves that Kyle Shanahan doesn't trust his offensive line. Like, what are you talking about? He ran a play that got blown up in the backfield. He trusts his offensive line. They're running the ball for 5.6 yards per pop. What are you talking about? What do you mean? It proves that Kyle doesn't trust Brock Purdy to make a throw on third down. I think he led the NFL in third down accuracy last year. But so like, come on, feel free to live beyond the moment you just saw and apply like what else has happened in the last 8 years of the Shanahan era to that sentence. It's people are such prisoners of the moment. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
I feel like Jimmy G set this franchise back like 5 years because not literally, but just with people not trusting them. Like no one knows who's good. No one knows who to blame. No, it's like, Jimmy G's great. No, he sucks. We suck. We're good. Who's good? Is it Shanahan? Like it's just people are just going crazy.
Right. There's a reason why everybody's bipolar in this fan base.
Right.
Exactly. I wasn't quite around during like the greatest show on turf, but like it seems to me like everyone looks back at that and we're like, oh, what an amazing story. Kurt Warner, undrafted, absolute underdog.
He was
takes
working
that
at
team,
Kroger's.
Just unbelievable. And everyone, and it's like, well, I mean, it's just like Brock Purdy, but it's like, well, yeah, but the Niners were loaded. And it's like, oh, the greatest show on turf didn't have Marshall Faulk and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and like,
Orlando Pace at left tackle.
Yeah. One of the greatest left tackles ever.
Yeah. It's like a perfect corollary.
Some fantastic coaches, Hall of Fame coaches, Hall of Fame, everything. Alex Barbado, Leonard Floyd was in the back of Aaron Rodgers' mind, according to Alex Barbado. Guys, let's finish up here. We've been going for a full hour now. We still have almost 3,000 people hanging out watching the show. But let's go around the room one last time. I want everybody to make sure that they tune in tomorrow morning. Damon and I will go live tomorrow at 9. brought to you by our good friends at Sam's Chowder House. And Sam's Chowder House is the sponsor of our show tomorrow. So
it's not a betting house; it's a chowder house. So
chowder house.
I guarantee you, Paul Shankman doesn't care when JP Mason found out he was playing. He just wants to get you a lobster roll.
Paul, when did you know I was going to order a lobster roll? When did you know I wanted oysters Rockefeller? Did you know on Sunday morning when I walked in? When exactly did you know I was going to order the oysters Rockefeller?
Hey, Larry, as always, man, I had to come in and join your crew. Your crew has helped launch my channel in such an incredible fashion. So great to see you, Dan and Rye. Kevin, as always, Larry, awesome job covering this preseason, covering training camp. Is a load. Like, it's not fun. It's a lot of hard work, and you put in a lot of hard work. And I just want to acknowledge, Larry, all the hard work that you put in to covering the 49ers. My channel is better because I just watch, shit that you report and I talk about it and I'll be like, yeah, Larry said. And so great job leading it up to this year. 1 down, 16 more to go, boys, and should be a fun season. Thanks so much for having me. Everyone take care.
Yeah, take care.
Get yourself a GD juice box and have a great night.
Hold on. I got a Michter's bourbon juice box right here.
You just go get yourself a juice box and mix some bourbon in there.
Covering it could be worse than cover.
We'll see you in the morning.
Take care, boys. Great to see you all.
There you go. The great day.
Covering the Niners you could say it's tough. It's a lot of work and a lot of driving, but it could be worse. You could have the Giants beat writer's job.
We got this one from Green Glass Full. Larry, can you admit that Grant sucks or not? Oh, come on, man. Don't do that to me. Grant's a friend. I'm old Greg. Rodgers sees ghosts when he plays the Niners. How about this? Since the last time Aaron Rodgers threw for 300 yards, he is 12 wins and 12 losses. That's pretty amazing, but that's the truth. All right. That's going to do it for us tonight.
Hey, we
just say this. Let me thank our sponsors. Pig and a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, a sponsor as well. Thanks to them. We appreciate them. They're in Pacific Grove, California. Anthony Catania is a great guy. Go check out Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Thanks to Mancini's as well for sponsoring us. And that's going to do it for us tonight. But let's do this. Let's go around the room one last time and get everybody's final thought. And we'll start with you, Rye. The Niners get a nice win, 32-19, the final. They put up 32 points on a really good Jets defense. Jordan Mason was amazing. The Niner defense played strong. Brock Purdy was mistake proof for the most part. Jawan Jennings led them receiving wise. Big day for Debo. The Niners get the win. Go ahead, Rye. Give us your final thought on the night.
My final thought is just, I keep worrying about like the window closing, all of that kind of paranoid stuff. And I watched a lot of football this weekend. The NFC is still the 49ers. The amount of crap quarterbacks and just terrible football all around yesterday. Just was sitting around watching, and then you see the 49ers show up like this, just like professional business. It was just a business trip. Like, they look like they're
right. Who would you give right now if I say number one contender in the NFC to the Niners based on week one? What would you say?
I think I'd have to say the Lions, and I don't feel that great about the Lions.
Okay.
I mean, you could say maybe the Eagles, but
I'd go Eagles probably just because I thought they had a nice win against Green Bay, and I think Becton and Lane Johnson on the right side of that offensive line looks kind of scary.
Yeah, and both of them have improved corners.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, I don't know what to take away from a Brazil game where people are slipping and sliding around and Jordan Love's injured.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was just a weird game. So, yeah, I feel great about the Niners.
Danny, You got a final takeaway from tonight?
Yeah, I think the defense looked good. I liked the defensive line. I thought they showed up tonight. Hadn't seen it since, it was in the preseason. They didn't really play, but they stuffed the middle. They couldn't get the first down when they had 3rd and 1. They stuffed them, and then they forced them. And then Yidam made that nice play. The DBs look like they're better this year with coverage and man, which is really impressive.
I like that.
I think I'd like to see some more mixing of. They did mix a little man tonight. They got beat on the zone. I think their guys are good cover guys. They've got 3 really good cover guys in Lenore and Mooney Ward, and then whether it's Yidam or whoever is that.
I believe it's Yadam.
Okay,
yep.
Yadam. Yeah, Yadam. But I really thought that I think that's going to be a big improvement this year is the DBs, all of them.
I agree. I think that's really where this team is most improved, is that it's that defensive backfield. And I agree. I think you're spot on. I think the Niners over the course of the season are going to play more man. I think they match up. The old saying, if you match up, you play man. If you don't match up, you play zone. They haven't matched up. They've played a lot of zone. They do match up better now. I think they'll play more man. Kev, you got a final thought?
I mean, besides JP Mason just having the game of his life, I'm going to say a lot of what Dan just said. I mean, the new look. I mean, first off, new defensive coordinator, and the defense looks good. Nick Sorensen called a great game. The boys looked great out there. The defensive line, the interior defensive line, clogging up holes. It's like that was the big difference. They don't have 2 skinny guys in the middle. They don't have Javon Kinlaw who's losing his leverage. You got Malik Collins just covering up 2 gaps. He's just a wide body guy, and he's just eating up all those runs. So that was really the difference. The Jets couldn't get the run game going, and there's 3 and outs because it's just, Breece Hall 1-yard carry, Breece Hall 2-yard carry, and an incomplete pass, and they're punting. So I'm really excited about this 49ers defense because that was the piece that was missing from them last year. So I'm really, really excited about this unit moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. All right, that's going to do it for us. Niners get the win. I was very impressed by Malik Collins. Very impressed by Jordan Mason. Hopefully Mason, whatever lesson he needed to learn, he learns. But it was too bad in some ways. I kind of feel bad that he was not the joyous self that he should have been, because that was the best game of his entire NFL career. And this kid has got a ton of talent. And what you saw tonight was not accidental. Quinnen Williams sounded impressed, and justifiably so, because the kid's legit. So anyway,
Larry, did you get any word on Banks in the presser?
I talked to Banks in the locker room. He's fine.
Oh, okay, because he left the game.
Yeah,
he took
fine.
him out for what's his name? Burford. Burford came in for him, and he didn't. And Banks didn't play the last quarter, maybe.
I don't know if there was an issue there, or if it's just getting Burford some time. But Banks didn't seem like he was in any pain. We talked at his locker. People can go check out. I went into the locker room. I talked to Banks. I talked to Pooney. Kev, who else did we talk to today that you put out?
I have not put out those interviews yet, but
okay. So Pooney and Banks are coming.
Pooney and Banks.
Yep. Great. And then Kyle Shanahan from the presser. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for Danny, for Rye, for Kev. I'm Larry. Have a great night. Check me out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with Damon. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for.